Bitcoin is pumping, but is it a real strength or is it just because the dollar is actually getting weaker? Let's analyze.
My crypto paradise.
Hello ladies and gentlemen of the Paradise Club, this is Simon from My Crypto Paradise. So Bitcoin is pumping above our descending trend line right here. With ParadiseTeam VIPs, we have been executing some short-term trade ideas, for example Sol, on this breakout. But from the swing trading, from the ultra and high time frame perspective, I'm still not convinced that we will continue and create some new all-time high. And in this video, I will try to explain to you what is the reason behind that. We will be going through these charts, we will be also going through ultra high time frame, and I will explain to you what is needed for us to pump towards $121 or $135,000 before we go down, or what is needed to get rejected right from the current levels. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start right now with understanding what's going on behind the scenes. So let's take a look at the sentiment, fear and greed index, and other important data that will help us to understand what is the context of the current market situation and what with the highest probability will do Bitcoin next. So right now we can see that we are watching the fear and greed index that we are having on the website, and as you know, we are right now at around that 80 level. This is a very extreme greed level, ladies and gentlemen, for Bitcoin. As you know, previously, for example, when we have been last time in June 16 at that 80 level, as you can see, we have after that went to the downside and Bitcoin was worth around $108,000 at that time, okay? And then we have started to change the greediness into fear, and as you can see right here, we have bottomed at our 20 level and Bitcoin ended at around $99,000. Right now we are once again at 80 level, okay? So this is very important to understand. The retail right now is being extremely greedy. Let's take a look at the crypto trading sentiment. The crypto trading sentiment that we are taking with the help of artificial intelligence from the Bitcoin Talk, Reddit and Twitter is right now declining a little bit, alright, but we are still above average. The funding rates are reflecting perfectly the fear and greed index on 4-hour time frame, and as you can see, we are having the accumulated funding rates extremely positive, alright. On altcoins, as you can see, it's all red, alright. And what does it mean? It means that in the market right now there is more accumulated long positions, overleveraged long positions than short positions. And what does it mean? These long positions becoming more and more vulnerable, all right? And when these long positions are being vulnerable like this, the market whales can take advantage out of it, push the price down. These long positions will be liquidated and they will be driving the price even lower. So the ride lower will be much smoother thanks to this, because once you get liquidated or close a long position, it automatically creates a short position, okay? So basically that will help the price to push to the downside. That's what's called a long squeeze. Then you have also a short squeeze when the funding rates are being the opposite side, and that means negative. Right now we can see the funding rates are extremely positive, so the long positions are right now in a very, very dangerous situation. If we take a look and analyze the big sell walls and buy walls, as we can see right here, we are having a big buy sell wall above us at around $110,000 and $111,000. Ladies and gentlemen, it can be again a spoofing, okay? It can be spoofing. For example, as you can see right here, the price came close to these sell walls and they have just removed it, all right? But if we watch how these sell walls are reacting to the price action, we can pretty much determine if they are real or it's just a spoofing to manipulate the market. On the spot exchange, we can see that the big sell walls are at around $111,000 as well. As you can see, the order book on the sell side is much thicker than on the buy side, right? So this tells you something. And from the buy wall perspective, we can see that probably the whales will be defending $106,000, $105,000 on the spot exchange, $106,000, $105,000 also showing some bid. So that's about this. Let's right now also take a look what's happening in the news, and we can see that we have some breaking news. The US labor market defies expectations Divergence, ladies and gentlemen. The initial jobless claims is $233,000 better than expected, all right? And the non-farm payrolls is actual 147,000. So the news are kind of positive, right? However, I do believe that pretty much it was already priced in from the previous price action that happened yesterday, the bullish movement. So right now it's already priced in. So the only way is to push the price down probably, or is it? Well, let's take a look right now at the weekly time frame, ladies and gentlemen. Before we jump into Bitcoin, I want to share with you the dollar index, all right? The dollar index right now will be the main point of this video because I want to explain to you what is the reason that even though Bitcoin and S&P 500 is having some kind of a surge to the upside, the investors are actually not getting richer, all right? So the S&P 500 takes in consideration the 500 top companies in US, right? And this chart that you are seeing and this number is in terms of USD value, okay? This is very important to understand. And when you take a look at the dollar index, you can see that we are in a huge bearish market. The dollar is getting weaker and weaker. And it is not just against the British pound. As you can see, let's have a look how much of a value the US dollar lost against British pound since January 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, 11%, all right? So it's not just against British pound, it's against all currencies, because as we take a look at this dollar index, basically this is an index of dollar in consideration against all other currencies. That's also reflecting Bitcoin, okay? So when the S&P 500 is moving to the upside, the companies in the US are getting stronger, but when the investor sells S&P 500 or any other stock, or one more time, or any of the stocks he bought, basically he gets US dollar, or if he is like from foreign, if he is outside of US, he still needs to get from dollar to his own currency, right? But if you have the dollar down as much as this, the buying pressure is decreasing horribly, right? So even though the S&P 500 is making a new all-time high, the investors are not getting richer, they are actually losing money because the dollar index is having very low buying power, all right? So this is very important to understand. Is it going to change? Well, let's analyze what's going on the price action. So right now we can see that we had some big surge to the upside since around 2021. The dollar was doing pretty well against other currencies in the global market. Pretty well, right? After that, we have started a corrective mode wave. How do I know it's a corrective mode wave? Well, because this is a simple zigzag, right? As you can see right now, I will show you how zigzags are being made. Basically, it subdivides itself into three smaller waves, A, B, C. The A and C are motive mode waves. The B wave is a corrective mode wave. And as you know from our website, mycryptoparadise.com, the corrective mode waves can take a form of one of these 3, 6, 9 patterns, all right? And I do believe that we have created a double 3 inside of the larger B wave, this one, okay? And we can confirm it. So basically, this was our impulsive A wave, then a double 3 B wave, ladies and gentlemen, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, that was W, this is X, A, B, C, running flat pattern, right? And this is our Y, and this is the finish of the B wave. And I do believe that right now we are finishing the C wave. Ladies and gentlemen, how do I know the C wave is getting finished? Well, there are a few guidelines, right? So first of all, we have been calculating with the ParadiseTeam the sub waves, and it seems like we have completed 5 smaller waves to the downside. That's one sign. Another sign is that the A wave is usually the same length as the C wave. So when you have the A wave finished, then you can pretty much know where the C wave is going to be finished, because it's usually in 90% is the same length, right? So I take the measurement of the A wave, ladies and gentlemen, I put it to the top of the B wave, and as you can see right now we are finishing at the exact same length, all right? I'm not saying it cannot go a little bit lower, all right, but I'm saying that it's pretty much finished right now. We are also at our special resistance zone that is being made out of 0 0.618 and 786 Fibonacci retracement level that I have taken from this whole section right here, from this whole bullish cycle, okay? So as you can see, we have already retested the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level, bang bang, but then it dropped, all right? And I do believe that this was the final smaller fifth wave. We can also revisit 786, ladies and gentlemen, but I do believe that this will be just a smaller drop and it will hold. But we are in this big support zone, ladies and gentlemen, so I do believe that very soon the dollar might start getting back its strength. The confirmations are not just there yet, but lots of indications we are having. For example, this RSI index, as you can see, the RSI is in oversold area, all right, below that 30 mark, already touched that, and we have created a higher low. However, the price action is making lower low. As you can see right here, this was the previous low, and right now we are making lower low. However, the RSI and also the MACD histogram is making higher low. What does it mean? It's a classic bullish divergence, right? If you're educating yourself in our MCP3 University, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The momentum of the bears is decreasing, and that's usually the right moment for the bulls to take over, right? And right now we are having exactly that, ladies and gentlemen. So we are monitoring the price action. Once there is going to be enough confirmations for some validation that the dollar index is going to the upside, for example, we need to have a successful reclaim of this orange trend line. That means a nice push to the upside with more than average volume. I don't have the volume right here on this chart right now, but you know exactly how to watch that. I've shared that with you multiple times in the previous videos. So you need to have an explosive push to the upside above the moving average, then a retest, and it needs to hold, all right? And then you need to have on lower time frame some double bottom formation or some bullish engulfing candlestick patterns that will work as a confirmation. And once the confirmations are there, the probabilities will be extremely high, ladies and gentlemen, that the dollar index will start pumping to the upside, okay? And we will be retesting this resistance level at around 106, which is the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level from the sequence of the last push of the B wave, all right, right here. So this will be an extremely important point, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm really watching with the ParadiseTeam how the dollar index is going to react, because if you want to successfully trade the cryptocurrency market, you need to see the overall global markets in context. You need to know what's happening with dollar index. You need to know what's happening with other currencies. You need to know what's happening with stocks, with gold, with risk on and risk off assets, etc. So basically you need to have this kind of holistic approach, and then you can make much better trading decisions. Of course, this is not enough. Then you need to have a proper risk management, proper strategy. You need to execute your trades based on professional tactics, and only after that you are able to fight with other professional traders and fight for being long-term profitable. All right, so I'm talking about multiple years, not just being lucky in few months. So let's right now shift our focus on Bitcoin ultra high time frame chart. If we take a look at our oscillators, we are having a clear bearish divergence, right? So as you can see on the ultra high time frame, the price action is making higher high, but the histogram right now is making lower high. As you can see, the bulls on the ultra high time frame chart are extremely weak right now, okay? We have a bullish cross, but for confirmation of this bearish divergence, we need a bearish cross. So I'm waiting for this blue line to go below this red line to go somehow aggressive on this market as a bear. Together with that, take a look at stochastic RSI. As you can see, this bearish cross we had right here, and you remember that we have been able to catch this beautiful movement to the downside. Nobody else was expecting that, but I have been warning you in these videos. Smash the like button, ladies and gentlemen. Right now we have the similar bearish cross right here. If that's gonna play out and we will not shift this into a bullish cross, we will have the similar price action, okay? As you can see, for the past few months, the price action is extremely boring. We are trading inside of a tight ranges. The only proper move was this one, which was at around for around 30%. We have catch that one, okay? We have catch that move. At that time, nothing else was having such a beautiful movements, ladies and gentlemen. So you need to be trading these small movements, okay? If you want to focus on trading this market, you need to be focusing on these small movements, but you always need to have in mind that a big move is gonna come, okay? So your strategy needs to be prepared for it at all times, okay? At all times. Right now, what we can see on the RSI indicator, we are having a cross and bullish retest. Ladies and gentlemen, the RSI right now is showing something bullish together with the moving average. Because of this push to the upside, we are having a successful bullish reclaim of the moving average, all right? So that is why it's important to be careful right now. If we will start pushing above the previous local high, and I'm talking about this one, so if I put a horizontal line right here, if we will start pushing above this bearish structure, I will be describing the bearish structure on the lower time frame. Just wait a minute. If we will have a successful reclaim, ladies and gentlemen, it will then confirm that we will start retesting the $121,000. We will be going forward to take this out, and potentially, if you will be able to reclaim this one as well, $135,000 before we will start pushing down towards $44,000, and after $44,000, $240,000, all right? So, you know, the idealized corrective wave, sometimes the B wave can extend the end of the A wave, and that's basically happening, and you need to be prepared for whatever the market brings you, all right? So this is called a running flat pattern. Ladies and gentlemen, let's right now analyze how probable it is that we will go above this previous local high. So let's zoom in and let's take a look at our daily time frame. As you can see, the previous daily candle that closed few hours ago closed kinda bullish, right? But didn't close above the major important resistance levels. But take a look at the volume. The volume, considering the previous two bearish candles, was kinda good, right? It was much higher. It wasn't above the average moving trend line, the moving volume trend line that we have right here, but was much higher than the previous two bearish candles. But take a look, let's take a look what happened previously right here. We also had a very nice bullish candle, right, with nice volume above the previous two averages. But take a look at the second candle, all right? The second candle closed very bearish, and the volume was already diminishing, all right? And that's also one of the reasons that triggered the upcoming bearish trend. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, henceforth, is extremely important to watch the candle, the daily candle that will be closing in 8 hours 30 minutes. If it's going to close with a low volume, if the volume will be diminishing, or it will close bearishly, that means it will not be able to sustain support above these resistance levels. It will be bad, okay? And it will increase the probabilities that we might need to go down, or at least retest this moving average trend line once again. So right now we will be talking about that we are rejecting from these two Fibonacci retracement levels that I have taken from this sequence. We will be talking about that sequence very soon. But firstly, let me also share with you right here on the daily time frame this bearish divergence that we are creating. This is called exaggerated bearish divergence, because as you can see, we have created an equal highs. However, the momentum is increasing and it's actually creating higher highs, all right? But the momentum is creating higher highs, the price action lacking to follow the histogram of MACD right here and creating only equal high. What does it mean? It still means the same thing I have been talking about previously, that somebody is absorbing the buying liquidity, right? Together with that, if we will have decreased momentum, it will be basically a confirmation that somebody is really absorbing this buying liquidity, and there is not enough real buying power that would push the Bitcoin higher and create a new all-time high. If we take a look at our stochastic RSI, we are having already a bearish cross right here. We are still an overbought area. Right now we are trying to close bullishly, but there is not yet a confirmation. It all depends right now on the daily candle. So if we will start closing the daily candle above these resistances, above this moving average trend line right here, and most importantly, if we will close above this previous previous high, and we will have a successful reclaim. That means break with nice volume, and then we will have a retest of this resistance, and it will be holding, and we will change that into a support. Then there will be confirmation from the daily time frame perspective that we will be targeting $121,000 and maybe even higher. But right now we don't have that yet, so we are monitoring the price action on the daily time frame. Let's zoom in inside of this price action, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at our 4-hour time frame chart. As you know, I do believe that we are creating a leading diagonal, descending leading diagonal that is typical for the first motive mode wave. So what I'm talking about is the possibility that we are creating an impulse that will take us towards $44,000, ladies and gentlemen, and the impulse, the descending impulse, is subdividing itself into 5 smaller waves, right? And the first, third, and fifth wave are motive mode waves, and each motive mode wave subdivides itself into 5 smaller waves, right? And it can either be an impulse itself. So in this smaller first wave, there's basically even 5 smaller waves, and it can be either in the structure of an impulse, or it can take formation of a leading diagonal. And as you know from the previous videos, there is a high probability that we are trading inside of a leading diagonal. And right now we have been trying to reclaim this descending trend line, ladies and gentlemen, but it still doesn't mean anything. This can be a simple underthrow, and it will just confirm the bias that I've told you in the previous videos, that we will have an overthrow of the final fifth wave, because I've told you about the level $93,000, right? I've told you why this level is so important, and as you can see, the $93,000 is below this descending trend line, right? So normally, usually the descending leading diagonal is just going and forming inside of the channel, but when you have a fourth wave overthrow, fourth wave underthrow, it is confirming, because of the rule of alternation from the Elliott wave perspective, that there will be an overthrow in the fifth wave as well, and we will have a breakout and some invalidation and some deviation below the descending trend line. All right, so right now you know that the first, third, and fifth waves are motive mode waves. The secondary and fourth wave are corrective mode waves. All right, and as you know from the Elliott wave perspective, the corrective mode waves can be one of these 9. So the secondary wave was a zigzag, right? We have been able to successfully analyze that on the lower time frames. It was a zigzag, and the fourth wave, it can be either a zigzag itself or any other pattern. All right, and I do believe right now that we are having it inside of an contracting triangle. There is a possibility that the fourth wave is being formed out of contracting triangle. Okay, and it's basically a rising wedge pattern right now. Here on our website you have how to trade these rising wedge patterns, and as you can see, it also subdivides itself into 5 smaller waves, all corrective mode waves A, B, C. Right now it seems that we are confirming, we are finishing the C wave. If we will start breaking, however, to the upside, and we will have a reclaim above this ascending trend line and above this resistance that is also the previous local high, it will be an invalidation. And from the 4-hour time frame perspective, from the medium time frame, we will be positioning ourselves into some trading ideas that will be suspecting that we will be hitting the $121,000, right? So we will be looking for long opportunities. However, if we will start completing this triangle, we will also complete the D and E wave. It will increase the probabilities furthermore after we will have a successful break and reclaim, that we will start doing the fifth wave towards $93,000. So be extremely careful about this consolidation inside of the rising wedge, inside of the contracting triangle. Educate yourself on our MCP free university website at mycryptoparadise.com how to trade these rising wedge patterns correctly, what confirmations to wait for, etc. And I will see you in Paradise Family VIP or in the next video right here in this channel on Saturday. Cheers.